I don't know if you guys can hear me. Probably can hear me, but I had to start off with that because as soon as I heard this right here, even though it's short, it was kind of hitting. I had to start off with that. Boy, so I'm a little late. Yes, I am a little late, but nonetheless, welcome to episode 32 of What the Fuck Just Happened, featuring yours truly, DJ81, and a variety show of sorts. So basically, talk about any type of topics that come up to mind, especially the ones I come across on Twitter, sometimes on Facebook, whether I'm reading independent news, mainstream news, whatever it may be. It's just one of those things where you can't just keep talking about the same two things all the time. So even though sports and video games will be included in some of the topics, uh, just for those that are wondering, I'm not going to always be talking about sports and video games. There's other things to talk about. But since we're talking about sports and video games, let me get some admin out the way. So for those of you who want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at DJ81. That's on Twitter. For those that want to catch my Twitch live streams, you can follow me at EVO325. For those that want to check out some articles that I've written and follow along the playlist of this show on YouTube, you can catch my website at dj81.org. Now, I fucked up last week because I gave a shout out but couldn't remember one of the people's names. So let me redo that. So shout out to Jeremy and Thad over at the Sports Reality. They do their shows mostly on Thursdays. They actually did a show. They did their podcast just last evening, just yesterday. So, that I've known for a long time. Jeremy, I've just been getting to know recently. So I've appeared on show a couple of times, one by accident, and the other just that was that the second time was planned. And they're two good brothers. They got their thing going over there on the Sports Reality. So I urge you guys to go give them a follow, whether it's through Facebook, um, obviously on YouTube, and you all you gotta do is type in the search, and at some point I will send a link in the description for this podcast afterwards, but a link to their YouTube channel, the Sports Reality. So they got a good thing going over there. So what are we gonna open with? What am I gonna open up with this week? I know there was a bunch of video game news. I know that a ton of sports news, especially recently. I know there was news about the NFL dropping a memo in which is kind of related to the topic that one of the topics I'm gonna talk about tonight, and talking about vaccinated versus unvaccinated. The behind the scenes issues with the fact that our country has again engaged in another slanderous onslaught against a particular part of the population. So that's neither here nor there. And then there's another thing that's going on. Obviously, this is not necessarily in sports and video games, but this is something I don't know if any of my viewers been paying attention, been just checking it out, just on the sidelines, probably taking an active role in it. But there's been a progressive, and I'm talking about politics here. There's been a progressive civil war going on, and yeah, it's been getting spicy. It's been getting real spicy. In particular, Jimmy Dore versus the Young Turks. I think that's been an interesting civil war, but there's more people involved, and backstabbing, and people thought they were friends, and you know, people portrayed themselves to be one way, they turned out to be another after taking some money. All the stuff that makes for pure entertainment, but it's sad at the same time because it really started with the politicians themselves. So we'll be talking about that. And what I'm gonna attempt to do this time, and I want to know, actually, let me see who's all here. And also, just another announcement: I'm not going in front of the camera today. Did anybody expect me to jump in front of the camera? Not this week, because I want to definitely just focus on the topics. Definitely want to focus on the Discord portion, which I'm gonna attempt and see if it works. And it's all gonna go on Spotify. And if you haven't followed me on Spotify, you ain't shit. So need you follow the Spotify of what the fuck just happened. So let me turn this down on my end, because usually when the music plays, I like the. And how you guys liking the music so far? I figured that's something that most people, and they enjoy a little music in the background. They don't want something too crazy. Um, a little extension of my personality. So you're not getting like rap and hip hop and stuff. I'm like, you kind of getting like the hip hop, but it's lo-fi, it's chilled out. Uh, Definitely is something more my speed, and something that was missing from the show after I went into season 2, I believe. That's when I converted all the the StreamYard and all that type of nature. But yeah, but just again, if you happen to be in the Discord, I'm going to be monitoring that, and I'm going to attempt to have a portion of this show to where people will just pop in, or actually they won't pop in, but I'll locate myself in the stream room, and I'll invite people one on one to come in and just say their piece. You got to pick one. This is a sniper session, so if you got one thing you need to talk about, hop in the stream room. Not yet, and plus you can't just hop in the stream room. I gotta pull you in. So it's one of those things. But I see Bills is in the chat. See Sweet Jones is here. So make sure you guys share this podcast, because I know not everybody caught the memo, because I like to communicate when stuff is going to change, like schedule changes, if I'm going to be late, if I got something in mind. I like to get that out at least 15 minutes before, and I felt like I did a great job of getting that out there by 7:45. I was going to be a little behind, but the surprise is I told you guys 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm here now. So under promise, over deliver. Anyway, so if we're gonna just open up real quick, there was some gaming news. Uh, EA Play did their little spotlight featuring Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed, in which, on a side note, there's a little bit of racism in the chat when he appeared all of a sudden. Apparently, people still don't like black people introing shows and hosting when we actually do the best job anyway. So that is no, it doesn't make me a liar, because if I appear ahead of time, this is Bill's reading out in response to that under promise over deliver, or does that make you a liar? Nope. It doesn't make me a liar by any means. It just means I have an intention, and I went ahead of my intention. So there you go. But EA Play did their spotlight. It wasn't really a spotlight, it was like the showcase, in which they showcased Battlefield 2042. They showcased Grid Legends, which is a take on their racing series, in which they have specific characters. They're engaging in a story mode for this game. So I think that's going to be interesting when that comes out. And it's done by the people over at Codemasters, which I may remind you, some of them 2-on-1. Okay, apparently I'm about to get jumped in the chat, because apparently Sweet Jones wants to start something. So even though I'm not specifically trained, I can fight two or more people. Let's just say that. I don't play by the rules, by the way. So if you think two of y'all can take me, it ain't happening. But anyway, especially you assume by how I sound that I'm easy. That's not the case. But oh, so now it's turned into a roast session. Oh, there must be a delay on the other end. But anyway, the game Grid Legends was done by the people over at Codemasters, which part of that group is formerly of Evolution Studios, which made the game Drive Club. And I remember Drive Club was graphically superior to a lot of racers, just not gameplay wise as far as the AI was concerned. But to this day, that game has the best graphics as far as weather graphics, like water dripping off the car, the windshield wiper effects, the expression of wind, as far as like liquid material flying across the screen, snow effects, visual effects at night, snow blindness at night, especially you didn't have the ability to put on the fog lights. So yeah, so I think that game is gonna be a good game, but I won't be playing it because I normally don't play Grid or anything of that nature other than Drive Club, and in the past it was Gran Turismo. Before that it was Need for Speed. Obviously the game I'm going to be playing is Battlefield 2042, and they showcased in the EA Play Live was their new Portal mode, which is a multiplayer sandbox in which players can mix and match between three past games, between Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. Soldiers, weapons, vehicles, maps, and I think they also include the maps that are going to be in 2042. So I think it's an interesting mode, and get a chance to see some interesting matchups. They say you can match drones against uh, the little mechanical bots. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can mix German soldiers from World War II versus American soldiers of today. And you could probably think that, you could probably obliterate the German squadron back then because they didn't have Apache helicopters just zooming over and just firing at range. But you never know. Some of these tricks that gamers know how to take out aircraft and how to take out tanks without having much sometimes may work out. So it's going to be interesting to see how this mode's going to work out. I have high hopes for that mode. Of course, the regular mode is going to be crazy. Full on all out war. I'm going to be in the conquest section, like pretty much exclusively. That's been my mode. And it's funny because throughout the years of Battlefield, I started with Rush. I never really was interested in team deathmatch or squad deathmatch. I really didn't like the small, closed off nature of it. I like the all out war where everything is just going on. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm gonna just enjoy this Battlefield. So I'm looking forward to that. And then they unveiled the remake. This was rumored for weeks. They are coming out with the remake to Dead Space. Next gen only, apparently. That's gonna be interesting. That game, and it's funny, to this day, I've barely even touched that game. And I will be totally transparent. My nerves have been bad for survival horror games like Dead Space since Dead Space. I played a little bit of Dead Space when they originally came out. I was like, I can't do it. Now, this is coming from a person that played Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Code Veronica, Resident Evil 1, when the dog jumped out and scared me then, but I kept playing. That's when I had the nerves. Now I don't have the nerves, but maybe I should build up the nerves to play this next gen version, or just go back and play the PC versions of those. So that's gonna be something. And then And of course, the what wasn't shown were most of the majority of sports games that a lot of people were expecting. Like I was actually thinking I was going to hear NHL news. They didn't even bring up Madden. They didn't. Let's see. Did they bring up FIFA? I believe they talked about no. They I don't think they brought up FIFA from what I remember. But most of the big sports games were missing, including NBA Live. So that's been speculated that that's probably not going to exist anymore. No one knows anything. I know one person that knows something, but he ain't talking, and he has every reason not to talk. NDA. So it is what it is, and I understand. If something's about to drop, he ain't squealing. What's up, OG? So, and of course, Madden comes out in about 3 weeks. So everybody who has been following that game, a lot of stuff in franchise mode. So we'll see how that gets. We'll see how that plays out as we get to the release date for the EA trial. The EA Play Pro on PC. Obviously, they won't have the next gen version, and then the release is on the 20th for everybody. People who pre-ordered the Dynasty Edition and the Ultimate Edition. I think I may have it backwards, but they're getting theirs 3 days early on the 17th. So we'll see how this franchise mode works, and then also about a month after that, around that time, is the first title update in which they'll drop the scouting, which was featured um, in a spotlight. I think it was earlier this week. And it's funny because a lot of the things that they showcased in that scouting was kind of some of the things I said on Sim Standard podcast. Shout out to Smitty, Sim F Ball. I did talk about what NHL had in their scouting, how deep the feature was, and what you could expect, and how it relate to Madden. You want to go check that out? I forget which episode it was on the Sim Standard podcast, but that was I was hearing Andre. I think he goes by Swami, EA Swami. I have a bad memory, and sometimes I get names mixed up or whatever. But he was kind of saying the same things that I was saying. I'm sure as a person, I followed him. I've been following his channel for quite some time. Yeah, he knew. He definitely knew that NHL has some things, and I've always talked about the fact that these developers in these studios one under EA needed to just coordinate more, because that's just something that they promised some years ago. But it is what it is. So, and then as far as sports is concerned, as far as the NFL, and we can actually roll into the first topic because it's kind of an extension of the vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And this is interesting that what the NFL has done. Now, apparently something like this was agreed to last year between the NFL owners and the NFLPA. So this is technically year 2 amendment to what they already agreed upon as far as the COVID-19 protocols. So as of right now, in summary, if there's a game scheduled that gets, let's say, that is unable to start or is unable to go due to a COVID outbreak on a team, if it's because of an unvaccinated player, if the game is not able to be rescheduled within the 18-week season, it will be considered that the team with the unvaccinated players that was found to have caused the outbreak would forfeit the game, which would count as far as the draft, and what would count if that team were to make the playoffs would count in the playoff seasons. And I think there's some additional punishments like fines. I don't think there was any suspensions levied that could be levied out. But yeah, I think the NFLPA overall dropped the ball on agreeing to this type of agreement, knowing that the NFL could come back and just amend it at any time. I'm sure that was in the agreement, like, oh, sign this, but we do have the room to change stuff at a later time that you guys can't argue to, and they agreed to that. So, hey, what's up, Gamer Champ? Everybody in the chat. So, Gamer Champ Bill Sweet Jones is here. So, but get this. On the opposite side, if you are vaccinated, and let's say the outbreak occurred amongst the vaccinated players on the team, they're afforded all the opportunities. They don't go automatically to a forfeit or whatnot if the game's not scheduled. They're afforded every opportunity to get the help or whatever they need. And I think that's kind of that's bullshit. But the other bullshit part is the thing that the NFLPA definitely dropped the ball on, and that was that in either case, nobody gets paid. I mean, if you didn't play that week, you don't get paid. I mean, NFLPA signed off on this. So I know people in the chat or in on Twitter were hollering to the NFL players, hey, how about you holler at the NFLPA? I thought they were supposed to be like looking out for you guys. Well, shoot, signing these CBAs the way they've been signing, they really not looking out for the players like they're supposed to. I see the NBA players got that shit handled. But I said this was an extension of the topic of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, because as we're seeing NFL players, whether they're on opposite teams or same teams, expressing their thoughts on whether they either want to continue playing or just trying to figure out whether they want to stand on their principles or not. And it seems like it's a continuing thing to where it's a versus mentality here in this country. It's like everything has to be, someone has to be the scapegoat, no matter the cost, no matter the reason. Somebody has to be blamed. So you got DeAndre Hopkins thinking about retirement if he's forced to take the vaccine, which is another thing. Why don't you just mandate the vaccine, NFL? If you want players to take the vaccine, you would just have to outright mandate it. If you're like, hey, it's your choice, but if you do that, you're gonna have to suffer the consequences. If your team is, I'm just like, no. This is how you avoid all that. Mandate it. If that's what you really want to do. That's what the NFL really wants to do. They want to mandate it, but they're mandated. They're what do they say in the military? Strongly recommended, or you've been voluntold is the phrasing that I used to hear when I was in the Air Force when it came to attending events. Like, you can choose to not attend this event, but if you don't, you'll be looked upon in an unfavorable manner. That's the consequence. It's the way to push you into doing something that you really didn't want to do in the first place. And whatever the reasons that players don't want to get vaccinated, at the end of the day, it's their reason. I know I've rashed a couple of players in the past about it, especially Kirk Cousins. But I only rashed Kirk Cousins because his father's a racist, calling Black Lives Matter people the devil. Fuck that guy. But anyway, but at the end of the day, it's really a choice of the players, and you should really just let it be. Like, who said you had to schedule 18 weeks worth of games? You could have scheduled 18 weeks and left the week open to possibly make room for a reschedule, because you knew this shit was going to continue into year two. Would the NFL and the NFLPA thought that COVID was going to go away by this year? They had already forecast it was going into this year, this fall, and also into possibly the spring. I'm like, it's got Delta variants, waiting for the Gamma. The shoot, I posted on Twitter, I'm waiting for the Omega strain. For those that I think the Omega strain was a Siphon Filter game. I don't think it even did well either. But yeah, there's gonna be multiple strains of this COVID that's gonna continue to knock down the overall efficacy of the vaccines. So it kind of leads into what's going on across the country. You know, vaccinated people vilifying the unvaccinated people, treating them like they got the plague. And it's just like, we have this thing in this country where it's like, it's a big old high school. It's like, oh, I'm a part of the cool kids and you're not. And we can do and say whatever we want. And if something happens, we can easily point to you. They'll believe us. And that's, in a way, it's human nature. But at the same time, when you have a whole government, you have the media pushing this thing of vilifying people because of their choice. And I'm going to talk to the women real quick, because I find it interesting that there are women out here talking about, you know, you guys need to get vaccinated. I'm not saying all women, but I'm just saying there are women out here, they're literally saying, you need to get vaccinated. You need to get vaccinated no matter what, you know, just get vaccinated. You know, they just pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. But in the same token, my body, my choice. Does that sound familiar? It should, because it seems like we're not even talking about Roe versus v. Wade anymore. But, you know, we took the time to defend that, but then some of y'all turn around and are trying to force the issue with other people's bodies. Just putting it out there. Just saying. It's their body, it's their choice. If they don't want that needle to go into their arm for whatever reason, let them be. It's their choice. You have the politicians out here. You have messaging talking about you're a hero. Heroes get vaccinated. I'm like, well, then what do you call Trump? You vilified this man for like what, 4 years? Is he a hero because he's vaccinated? I mean, heroes get vaccinated, right? All right, so let me step back from that. Let me read in the chat, because I always want to keep tabs on the chat, because some of y'all are gonna get a chance to come on here later as long as this thing works on Discord. And just a reminder, if you want to speak later, hop on Discord and I'll pull you into the stream room, and I'm gonna see if the audio will pick up your voice when you have your topic to speak. So just stay tuned later. So Bill's writes, there's far less, and this is in reference to the NBA, as far as like the NFLPA versus the NBAPA. Says far less players being represented in the NBA, which is true. And then he also states, this country, and this is in reference to the main topic. Bills writes, this country is full of mindless bots who operate in groupthink. Will always be that way, and Democrats are dictating that. Yep, they're dictating that right now. And before that, it was Republicans. It's always back and forth. It's no matter who's in control. Whoever's in control controls the messaging. The fact that we have news organizations and media outlets that are controlled by different sides of the platform is just, it's self-explanatory of how split this country is. I'm like, you have news for Republicans, you have news for Democrats, you have news for everybody in between. You have independent media, you have people like me, it's it's just all over the place, and it's like everybody forgets the real role of journalism. Just report what happens. You don't be the story. Don't. It's not. I don't care about your opinion if you're the journalist. Just tell me what happened. Let me figure it out for myself. But that's not what's going on here, and it's basically propaganda and passive aggressive mind control. So you got heroes get vaccinated, but like I said, Trump got vaccinated, so you guys vilified him. What does that make him? So, all right, so Bills, it says whichever side won the election was going to automatically peer pressure folks into the vaccine and further push the group think. Cool kids culture. It's laughable. Yep, that's what I pointed out earlier. It's all about being part of the cool in the gang, being part of the cool kids, and being part of the popular group. Which I don't know. I don't know a thing about being popular. I was never popular in high school. I was always the lone kid. I knew everybody, but was not part of the popular group. Nor was I part of any group. I just played football, did my homework, and graduated. Made friends along the way, but it's never associated with a group. Bills also writes the only folks who get a choice are the self-inflicted, so-called oppressed folks, which I won't even go further into here. Yep, makes sense. So, pretty much when you're talking about vilifying people and the messaging behind it and the fact that it's totally funded, it's funny. This is taxpayer money that's being used to do this. And we're such a nation, we're such a weak peoples that not that if we honestly, if we just stop paying taxes, we're going to arrest the whole country. I mean, you got people that don't pay taxes already. You don't see them getting arrested, and those are individuals. But when you got the president of the United States, you have the vice president of the United States, and oh God, the vice president of the United States, I can't talk about her because she's been slipping. I'm like, Joe was slipping from the beginning, but she has no business being there. Only reason I say that is I go by her actions that were in front of me that I could see and evaluate and say that this person clearly does not deserve to be in this spot. You can bring up her record that I'm not able to see in action because I didn't live in California. You have folks in California said she was terrible at her job. Who knows? But she clearly is way in over her head. So if she were to become the presidential nominee, then we're all in trouble because that just means that Trump would be like, you know what? I would just walk in here and win this because this is all setting up for him to win in 2024, and then we're all in trouble all again. But then again, CNN gets to make more money, Fox, all them, whatever. But yeah, this whole thing about using the unvaccinated to lay blame if there's another outbreak. Newsflash. And I said this earlier about the NFL players because there would be a situation, and there are a couple players that are already in the COVID-19 protocol as they enter training camp. Because I think Dallas and another team have already started their training camp with rest of the teams entering their training camps. I think over the weekend or next week. But the issue comes in is that people who are vaccinated think they're immune. That messaging actually came out from Trump. But just because you had the vaccine, whether you got your 2 shots of Moderna or Pfizer, or whether you got your 1 shot of Johnson & Johnson, you're not immune. You can still catch it. At any rate, and I got this, and I actually listened to a video done by Kyle Kalinske, and he pretty much looked it up. Basically, was saying it's like, look, all these vaccines, they're really effective against death, severe symptoms, hospitalizations, and so on. Now, a lot of questions come from the fact that what are what are the serious side effects that you can go under as far as taking the vaccine. I can only tell you as much as what I've gone through and what others have shared with me, is that it feels like you've gone through hell. You feel like you have the flu. There are some cases where you'll have long-term effects, side effects from the vaccine, where people still have breathing issues. I think I still have breathing issues as I speak. Um, and the thing is, I'm a former athlete, so my body is actually a little bit more in condition to handle a vaccine, and I'm having these issues. There are other folks not as conditioned that are still having their side effects at a higher rate or at a greater intensity. People overall have questions. We don't even know how long the vaccine initially lasts, because Pfizer, and I probably said this last week when I talked about the Delta variant in episode 31, but the Delta variant right now, like I said, knocks down overall efficacy, so it's more likely you can catch it with this Delta out here. But like I said just moments ago, just being vaccinated only reduces the chance of dying, severe hospitalization, and severe symptoms. So it's a manager. It's a virus manager. You still catch it. It just manages how well that virus will do to incapacitate you. That's all it is. Still catch it. But let's see. I was kind of stuck at what I was. Let me go to Gamer Champ real quick. Okay. Actually, no. Let me go to Bills because he said something really interesting. He says, as a nation, we could never just stop paying taxes. Too many people locked into mainstream media and operate in the government has our best interest in mind attitude. And you know what's funny, because that's mostly, I hate to say it, that's mostly a previous generation. Part of my generation still thinks that way. Hell, whenever I say something about Biden, I get attacked from everybody, and they're all Democrats. And the thing is, it's like I go after people if it's warranted. And when I criticize a person like Biden, a person like Kamala Harris, is that I expect better from them. I'm like, I don't want them to fail, but I want them to be better than what they are right now. And from what I see of them, they're not better. But like I said, I already figured that this nation as a whole, I'm like, we go out there, we protest every injustice there is, but we really don't do anything about it at the end of the day. I'm like, there's more of us than there are of them. Just saying. This Gamer Champ is like, yeah, I was on my butt for a day or so after I got it. I don't know what hit me. Yeah, it's them side effects. That side effects, like I said last week, for me, it lasted for a whole month. Felt like I was going through hell. I was definitely not at 100% performance, because I remember I talked about the fact that a couple of NFL players was like, hey, I take this vaccine, I'm going to lose my edge. That's true. That is a 100% fact. If you experience a side effect. Note what I said. If you experience a side effect, it's a 100% fact that you will lose your edge. Now, if you don't experience the side effects, then you're perfectly fine. Then you're good. But like I said, if you experience the side effects and how severe they can get, 100% fact that you're gonna. So let's see. And then Bill's just mentioned basically what I already talked about. It's like a good portion of your generation and the one before, it actually is pretty embarrassing. But here's the thing. The only reason it's like that because of the way we took in information. I'm like, my generation is the last generation before it was all digital. We're actually like the generation that crossed over. Like, so we know, but the thing is, we know what to do if shit shuts down. Like, if there's nothing digitally going on, we're not lost. We'll just help you guys, but at the same time, the way we took in the news, the way the news used to be, is what led to most of my generation, the one before that, believing in what they're being told in the media, because the media used to not be involved so much in the story. They would just tell the story. A lot of us listened to local news, and they were in the business of just telling you what happened and leaving it at that. So there's a reason why my generation still thinks that way and are just stuck that way. And the generation before that, remember, the generation before that, they didn't even have a face to what they were hearing for the most part. They transferred over to TV and stuff like that. That's probably like actually it's probably like 2 generations ago, but it between the generations, it definitely is all about how information is received and the motivations for the information being put out there. I'm like, there was always some type of messaging, but there was a more honest approach during our generation. A lot of us in this generation is it's not catching the outright hints that it's not that way anymore. So it's up to the next generation. It's up to part of my generation, the next generation, and generations and on to call that out. And that's what's happening. So at the end of the day, what's transpired has transpired. And the thing is, it's like, I don't even expect, and I understand what you're saying, Bills, about those older folks refuse to adjust, but it's in anybody who's older naturally, it's harder for them to adjust. Shoot, my father doesn't adjust to half the stuff that goes on, but that's just the nature. I'm sure when we get older, we get to like our 60s and 70s, we're gonna be stuck in our ways too. That's a cycle that would never end, but we'll be stuck in our own version of having trouble adjusting. So it is what it is, and I understand it, and I'm not actually, you know, it's expected, but it is up to the future generations to be better at calling out this bullshit, because at the end of the day, when you have a situation where the media is involved, backed by politicians, money, or whatever, in this whole vilifying the unvaccinated, when at the end of the day, this country hasn't mandated vaccines to be pushed into anybody's arms. I'm like, the messaging is out there, get this done, but you don't have to. It's not, you don't have to, it's your choice. And honestly, at the end of the day, depending upon your lifestyle, you're not, if you're a person like me who doesn't really go out that much, if I was unvaccinated, I would not be endangering anybody. But you're gonna throw people like that under the bus. People who can't medically take the vaccine, you guys say that you are thinking about those people and not considering them, but technically you are. And so is the government as far as messaging and stuff like that. So, and then for those that just choose to outright not take it, that's again, it's their choice. That's the way it is. So I think at the end of the day, it eventually somebody from the group is gonna have to look up somebody from the group that's involved in the active bullying, and that's another thing. You know how this anti-bullying campaign just ceased to exist? I know it ceased to exist when Trump went in office, but you see, it hasn't come back, and Biden's been in office. We don't hear anything about anti-bullying, but that's the very thing they're doing right now. So right now, vaccinated people or people who want to take the vaccine are actively bullying people who are currently unvaccinated to get vaccinated. And that's not right. I don't care what your personal feelings are about the vaccine. It is not your right to bully somebody. You are in the wrong if you are bullying somebody to take a vaccine. That's it. So let me see what else is going on in the chat. So Bill's writes, yeah, but the issue is that when it is clearly revealed to you that shit has changed, you need to change with it. That's true, but for older folks, that's a little bit harder to do. It's not as simple as you say it. I'm like I said, I look at my father. I look at a lot of older people. They're not. It's hard to adapt. Some people can do it. Some people can't. Some people can do it. Some people can't do it or are unable to do it. But that's a part of aging. I'm like, there are some things that even at our age that we're stuck in our ways and we don't really much adapt to. Like, I don't really listen to today's music that much. I'm still stuck in the 90s. And is it my stubbornness? Not really. I listen a little bit to what I hear today and it's just like, that ain't it. Some people may like the way they used to do things and that's the way it's human nature. So people just can't help it. Let's see. Let's see. Bill's writes, when it is Dems in this administration, it's encouraging and enlightening. When it's someone going against the vax, it's bullying. Yeah. So, all right. So the next thing that I find interesting because this actually stays in the political realm is this lefty civil war that's going on. The war of the progressives, clash of the liberals, as I would like to call it. The main portion of this civil war is between Jimmy Dore, who's a comedian who used to work with the Young Turks and reporting to media and stuff like that, versus TYT with Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. So the center of this civil war is pretty much centered around another civil war that no one seems to want to tell the truth about, and that is Syria. What's going on in Syria? Why we either keep bombing them, how a lot of people feel that Bashar Assad, I think, hopefully I got it, Bashir Assad, I think that's his name, President Bashir Assad of Syria, how a lot of people, due to some reports that came out, felt like he gassed his own people. But there's another side that says, no, it was local rebels that gassed his people. Some people are saying that we had something to do with it. But regardless, there's been debate back and forth between, and it's been the center of why there's a huge disagreement now, a huge fight that has turned personal between Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks. Now, like I said, Jimmy Dore used to work with the Young Turks. So this situation has it's gotten ugly, but it's actually quieted down in the last week or so because they really haven't addressed each other. But for a few weeks, it was really bad. It was really ugly. It was to the point where even there was a sexual harassment claim levied at Jimmy Dore by Anna Kasparian. But the thing is that she threatened him in his DMs about this before she was able to get it out in public. But by then, the threat to do so was already out in public because Jimmy Dore was out in front of it. Okay. And Jimmy Dore was able to talk about it before she was able to get out and talk about it. So when she went out and talked about it, and then Cenk is right there talking about it with her, they look like a bunch of clowns because they're trying to cover up. They're trying to like cover for one another, which sometimes they didn't get their story straight, and she's portraying herself as a victim when she clearly is only using this because they have a disagreement. It's funny, they take something that's personal that was already solved several years ago, because there was a because when whatever happened, which involved like inappropriate dressing or whatever, the two sides, Jimmy had already apologized because he told a joke that embarrassed the hell out of her over what she was wearing or whatever. They talked. He apologized. Sent the apology letter. This was several years ago. This was solved, but she brings it back up to threaten him and keep him from calling them out on their reporting on various topics like Syria, like uh, and some other things, and Julian Assange, because they clearly turned tail on reporting on Julian Assange, because before 2016, or before they took this money from the Clinton donors or whatever, they were all for Julian Assange, free Julian Assange, whatever it was. Then all of a sudden, they take this money. All of a sudden, it's just like Julian Assange picked a side. I'm like, what? At first, and it's funny because with TYT, I always thought they were anti-Clinton. Then that changed too. I used to actually watch and was subscribed to the Young Turks, and the thing that did it for me, this is a sidebar, obviously, but my support for Tulsi Gabbard was in direct conflict with Anna Kasparian's views of Tulsi Gabbard. That, you want to talk about shit getting personal? Anna Kasparian definitely took being snubbed by Tulsi Gabbard in an interview that was on the Young Turks, because I think a representative, or maybe Tulsi Gabbard herself, after Anna was out here smearing the fuck out of Tulsi, that Tulsi was like, look, I'll do this interview, but she can't be there. Yeah, Anna Kasparian took that personal and just kept smearing Tulsi and stuff like that. I had to unsubscribe from TYT, because you're not supposed to take this shit personally when people don't want you there. If you're telling incorrect information about somebody, if you're just directly smearing somebody, do you expect them to want you to be in their presence? And looking at Tulsi, she probably beat the fuck out of Anna. Anna's like a twig. Like, Tulsi is like half Samoan. Tulsi was in the currently serves in the National Guard, but Tulsi is in shape. She will choke the shit out of Anna Kasparian. There would be no issue. Anna would start like spazzing out. Then all of a sudden, Tulsi would be like, "Go to sleep, ho," and then just put her ass to sleep. But it wouldn't result in violence unless Anna pressed it, and it looks like Anna would lose control before Tulsi does. But anyway, that was my end of even following the Young Turks or whatnot. But yeah, this thing with Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian, where she pretty much weaponized Me Too to try to get him to shut up about their reporting, was just wrong. It's just outright wrong. But the dumb thing was to tell him you were going to do that, so it gave him time to get out in front of it. And basically, by you saying what you said, it confirmed what he said, and whatever y'all tried to claim, the TYT tried to claim, it's just sad. And that's PR 101. When you hear about something that could be popping up, and Jimmy was able to do this, too bad the Young Turks couldn't do this, and that was get out in front of the issue, address it, control the narrative, and Jimmy was able to do it. Good job, Jimmy. So they're still in, obviously they're still in bad terms, because then Cenk Uygur, who's also the host on the Young Turks, he followed up with other lies and other smears of Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore had to sun him too. And mind you, this is all over political disagreements. And it's funny, when something is about business, it needs to stay about business. Like the debate, looking at this overall, the debate should have definitely stuck to the policies at hand, which is what another person tried to do. Now, before I bring in that other person, TYT also smeared another journalist who has a disagreement with them as far as Syria. And the funny thing is, he actually has firsthand knowledge. There's a guy named Aaron Mate, actually is in Syria right now and is reporting on the ground what's going on in Syria. He's been the main one that's been involved in these reports that know what happened with the chemical attacks and who's doing what. Meanwhile, TYT, they haven't sent anyone to Syria. They don't have anybody on the ground. But yet they're smearing this guy, saying that he's not telling the truth. So that's clearly telling a lot of folks that TYT is under the influence of big money. And that's... But yeah, but this other person that's also involved by a guy, I mentioned him earlier. His name is Kyle Kalinske. He does the Secular View, I guess the Secular Room, Secular Talk is the name of his YouTube show. He does live streaming. He does news like 24/7. Pretty much a straight shooter, but he clearly was weighing over his head because he's friends with everybody. And it's like, he's friends with Jimmy Dore. He's friends with the Young Turks. That may not be the case anymore because he straddled. I'm like, there are times where I straddle a fence, and believe me, in recent times, it's hard to be the person in the middle. For those that know how hard that can be. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and that happens. But in Kyle Kalinske's instance, he's tried to mediate. He's trying to call it both ways. He's trying to be that referee, trying to call it down the middle, and it didn't work out, and winds up blowing up in his face. And then you got both sides going at Kyle Kalinske now because all of a sudden he's taking more of an issue with the fact that Jimmy goes after Kyle because he had a bigger problem with the fact that he said that Anna Kasparian at the TYT was dressed inappropriately for a newsroom over the fact that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur basically smeared him and Aaron Mate over Syria and also Russiagate. That's another point of contention in this whole thing. So that's where Jimmy Dore is like, look, I understand you're friends with him, but come on. You're willing to fight me, punch the shit out of me over the fact that I said that this chick was inappropriately dressed for a newsroom, but yet you weren't ready to throw hands when they were smearing the fuck out of me and Aaron Mate? Yeah, that unfriend right there. And then I think Kyle just left the Young Turks within the last week, in which Cenk Uygur threw shade at Kyle. Like, I think he's Cenk announced that Kyle had left the Young Turks because apparently he was supposed to appear on a debate panel or whatnot, and he wasn't going to appear because he had to be a part of the network. So Cenk announced that Kyle Kalinske is no longer part of the network, and then proceeded to just smear the fuck out of him. It's like, I think he's trying to placate whoever, he's trying to placate to, and that's going to end in disaster and blah, blah, blah. He wished him luck beforehand, but backhanded him on the rear for that. And it's just like, and it's a lesson I learned recently, and it's a lesson that Kyle just learned. Sometimes it doesn't pay to be the referee. It doesn't pay to be the mediator. Just doesn't work out. And I'm not saying it in my case that both sides are looking at me sideways. It's just the fact that it's just difficult because you want things to work out. And when things don't work out, then it's kind of hard to manage. And then you're like, So I feel for Kyle Kalinske, but that one thing where he was threatening to punch or fight Jimmy Dore and wasn't really as threatening to the TYT. Yeah, he definitely deserved to get excommunicated for that. But yeah, overall, there's other like Civil War type things. There's some hypocrisy amongst the left. AOC has been called out. The squad has been called out. They've basically been called out because they've basically become the go along, get along gang. I know that's a Kwame Brown term. I'm just using it because it's the easiest thing I can think of. But they've been placating Nancy Pelosi. Uh, Shoot, even as high as Bernie Sanders. And everybody loved Bernie Sanders, but come on. This dude definitely sold out. This dude definitely sold out. And I really liked Bernie, but the last presidential primary, I wish he would have never participated in, especially to get backstabbed by Elizabeth Warren right in front of our eyes. So that's why Elizabeth Warren was deemed a snake, because she turned her back on. It's just like it's like what everyone accused people around Trump would do. Like people around Trump backstabbing each other, try to get into the favor of Trump or whatever. I'm sitting there trying to figure out who are these people be on the Democratic side. Who are they being in favor of? Who are they trying to gain the favor of? And I have to say it, but they trying to gain the favor of Hillary and Barack Obama. Now, obviously, I don't like Hillary Clinton. She's got a hit list on her, and Lord knows I'll probably be on that hit list. All the things I've said, but I hate to say that Barack Obama went along with it, and because he went along with it, he's a part of it too. That's why Biden was vice president. If Obama had somebody else, like another brother in there, or maybe if he had a sister in there, I wouldn't have not won. And it would have been too, because just to be real, it would have been too much for the majority of Americans to deal with two black people in charge of the country. Just saying. That is 100% fact, because they were already not dealing with the fact that Barack Obama was president. We already know that to be true. So there's no argument there. So but yeah, as far as the Civil War is concerned, and like I said, I mentioned earlier, Tulsi Gabbard got excommunicated by the whole Democratic Party, to include Bernie Sanders or whatnot, because she was the third person in that primary that neither Bernie nor Biden acknowledged. And she just got up out of there. She was like, look, I'm tired of this shit. I stood up on principle and I had two people, basically a whole party, stab me in the back, and I served this country for this. Fuck them. Fuck the Democrats. And I'm just gonna go back to Hawaii and enjoy this life that she has. And she has a good life going on. Because all people did was smear the fuck out of her. And all she did was put her life on the line for the country. And as a veteran myself, that speaks volumes. And that's why Kamala Harris gets a lot of flack from me, because you don't go out and smear a veteran, a currently serving major in the military, and then say some shit like, well, I don't go out here and make fancy speeches. Nah, Tulsi Gabbard goes out across the ocean, goes into enemy territory, and because she's a medic, she actually heals wounds. What do you do? I haven't seen you cross any ocean as of yet, at least as far as I'm concerned. You haven't even crossed the border. Well, you did cross the border. You kind of skipped over it, and then, yeah, and you did, and Kamala did this smearing in front of everybody, and that's what I go by. I go by what I see, and kind of what I've heard about her. But with Kamala, it was basically, what turned me off about her is what she did on that I could see, that showed me who she really was. She's a snake. She's weak, and that's that. That's just my opinion. So, all right. So, are we ready to get this part of the show going, or are we not? Because I don't see the appropriate people in the Discord. If people want to speak up, they need to say something. They need to get on the Discord. Bills, I know you're here. I'm gonna see if we can get this thing going, because we're actually an hour in. So if we're gonna get this thing going, we're gonna get this thing cracking. There we go. We see Bills just appeared here. Let me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna, and I'm getting awfully nervous because so I'm gonna transition the screen, get this thing set up. Hopefully this works. So let me situation myself, and let me know if you guys wind up hearing double once I go in, or if you guys can hear me at all. So if you guys can hear me, which you guys should hear me right about now. So again, in the chat, if you can hear me. Also, if you can, like I said, if you're on the Discord, and chit chat's also being monitored as well, you probably see on the top right hand corner. So even if you want to say something in the chat, that's also available too. But let me know if you guys can hear. And that's telling me that I'm gonna have to move my icons because the live thing is right over it. So that'll be something I need to do next. All right, so let me. Okay, so Sweet Jones. No, Sweet Jones, you got to be in the Discord for what the fuck just happened. But Sweet Jones, can you hear me? And I'm about to pull in Bills. Let me see if I can send him. Where is he? Actually, hold up. Let's see how I can pull him in. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I said I was going to do a live test. And here we are. No, not what the fuck news. What the fuck just happened? The server. I've been sending invites. Now, I had to send an invite because I've been sending general invites to my server for what the fuck just happened. No, this is not in a. Right? I had to get this straight, but I have my own server for this show. What the fuck just happened? So let me see if I can pull. I'm trying to see how do I get Bills in here. Okay, invite people. Ain't got nothing, bro. I'll send it to you in a little bit, Sweet Jones, as far as the invite to the server. But I'm trying to pull Bills in here because he's on. I see him. Can I pull him in here? Okay, so he's there. Let me pull him here. All right, Bills, I pulled you in here. See if you say anything. I can hear you, but I wonder if the people can hear you. Say again? Okay. Well, Sweet Jones probably let us know if they can hear you or not. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, that's good. So that way it doesn't like catch on with your broadband or whatnot. So, oh boy. Oh, Bills. I think they're saying Sweet Jones is saying they can only hear me. I'm trying to figure out how can I get this. I was hoping that because it's gonna appear like I'm talking to myself. That's what it's gonna be like. Let me see. Because I would think, unless, you know what? I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna stop the background music because I think All right, so we're going to do that. And we're going to adjust the volume. Okay, say something now. Okay, can you guys hear him now? I'm waiting for some answers here. And folks, just to let you know, guys, people listening on Spotify, we're doing a live test of a segment that we're gonna eventually feature on this show. Oh, so no. All right, so it's telling me Sweet Jones telling me no. So just only me. Hmm. All right, so that was going to be interesting. So we're gonna cut on that, and I'm gonna find a way to figure out. It probably like nothing. I'm gonna try to take the time to do while I'm streaming this, but um, that is rather interesting. Let me see if there's user volume. Okay, let me see. Okay, say something. Okay, that's what it. Okay, so okay, what I'm seeing what's going on is that I think I just don't have the audio connected to the because no volume is coming from the desktop, and that's what I had to create a separate audio for Discord. So it seems like that's what I had to do. So we're gonna cut the this segment. So there was your test. So I got some work to do. I'm gonna get out of here as well. And let me get the music back on because and also let me also make this adjustment because I don't want to always have it so low. Okay. Get this music back on because I hate dead silence. But yeah, so now I know what to do. So I realized that was going to be a test, and I'm sure Bills had something interesting he was going to get off his chest. So so the segment that I was gonna call it uh oh, I know what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it pull up, speak up, shut up. So you guys gonna have to tell me what you think of that name of the segment. I think it's self-explanatory. Oh, you are you watching? Oh, you is Tony Storm just popping up on because I know tonight's SmackDown. So hmm. All right, so let me see. Next episode for episode 33, I'll definitely get this shit working. But this will be an interesting segment because I feel like you guys have something to. Oh, okay. So I feel like you guys definitely have something you guys want to get off your chest when you get on. So I'm gonna get that portion working. Like I said, it's inspired from Hard Eight Times and David Jaffe when they do their streams. They pull people into the Discord and they talk. It defeats the purpose of having a phone number for a call in. I remember Sim tried to do it. Um, what was it earlier in the Sim Standard podcast when they was part of Blog Talk Radio, and like I remember what was it? I know Google Hangouts had the ability. Skype definitely has that ability. But I feel like if I can pull you guys in. Apparently, Bills was able to jump in, and I think he was able to jump in because we both had the same status. But technically, what will happen is that one of you guys will want to come in when I bring up that segment. Pull up, speak up, shut up, and I'll pull you in to the stream room, and from there you say your piece. I'm like, it could be anything. Like I said, this is a variety show. Um, whether you want to offer me feedback, roast session, uh, like it's your time to shine. And I think that's what I'm trying to bring to the show is that it's not just about what you type in the comments, is what you say when the mic's in front of you. And I already know that Bills will not shy away from this. But are the rest of you going to shy away from this? That's what I'm about to find out when I get this thing working. I get this thing working. I'm going to see who really wants to speak up. Because if you're going to pull up, you better speak up. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. All right, so before I go, anybody got anything else? Oh, I know I talked about donations last week. I forgot to advertise my donation site. So I do have Zelle and I do have PayPal, and you can send those donations to those either one of those locations at evo325 at gmail.com. That would be the email that you would use if you want to send the donations to those sites. So, and Bills agrees with me, and as he says, we tried to get folks to pull up to the pod that one time and no one did. Hose. Well, we're bringing it back. So, and I say this, and I have this grin from ear to ear because I'm interested to hear what people got to say. Or if you're not gonna say anything, just shut the fuck up. You know, some people are brave when it's clickety clack at the keyboard, but when they bumping their gums, they just bumping their gums and nothing comes out. I've spoken for about an hour and some change, even though I was late today. I've done it for I would say over 200 episodes between two podcasts, to include 3 other podcast episodes that I've been a part of. Actually, technically, 4 other episodes that I've been a part of. Oh, okay, we're not gonna go there. Like, you know, that's a dead horse at this point. But as far as that person is concerned. But anyway, if a person like me who naturally has stage fright, who's been in front of a camera, who chose today to be off camera because I fucking felt like it, can speak up, then I figure the people watching can. Because I figure you guys got the cojones to say something. But if you don't, no harm. No harm. I'm like, at minimum, at least you're typing. At minimum. And then for those that are unable to type because they're working and whatnot, I get it as well. I don't want to exclude you guys because I know not everyone is free to chime in or whatnot. I see there were at least about 5 people that appeared today. And like I said, I'm trying to get that up to 30. So, like I said, I'm going to try to do the work on my end to get it up to that. Because, like I said, 30 is the magic number as far as viewers to get up to. And get it at least for 2 or 3 shows. I've added that on as an amendment to keep this show going. Because season 4 is put up or shut up. I'm going to be about it. If I can't put it up, I'm going to shut it up. So that being said, if no one has anything else to say, and let me switch back to main screen. There we go. I bid you guys a fair adieu. Good night. Be safe. You guys are going out tonight. It is a Friday night. Go and celebrate. You know, most states, no restrictions. Still be safe. Wash your hands. Wash your ass. Wash everything. Be careful. Don't be out here chasing these hoes. All right, Sweet Jones, did you not catch the first part of the thing? I talked about Battlefield already. You probably didn't catch that part, but just go back to the beginning. Towards the beginning, I talked a little bit about Battlefield and the new mode that they debuted on their EA Live Play live stream, which was wow, which which was Portal. So yeah, okay, I kind of figured. So yeah, so when you view this again, just the beginning part, I speak on Battlefield as far as their new mode is concerned. I figured there was no, oh, you was ending a Zoom, and Bills was talking about I'm going to penetrate some sweet walls. Well, you know what happened the last time you attempted to. So I'm gonna end it on that note. You guys have a good night. Be blessed, and guys, take care. Peace.